Hello, welcome to the TriathlonDan YouTube channel. This is going to be a bit of a long one, so apologies in advance. People said that they enjoy these sorts of things, so here we are. Unlucky if you don't. Maybe it's the sort of thing you watch when you're on the turbo. Maybe it's the sort of thing you watch when you need to get to sleep. Regardless, let's dive straight into it. This is a 2-up time trial that I did today, actually. 10 miles, Hilly, with my good friend Matt and clubmate. It was a hard ride, so here we go. Right, we all go. Okay, so let's talk through what's on screen. I'm watching this out, or as I'm telling you, Matt immediately looks behind himself to see if he's dropped me already. Not the case. The numbers on screen then. So we've got speed, grade, power, heart rate, cadence. There's a lot of it. The speed and grade is obviously the same for both of us. On the left-hand side column is Matt's power, heart rate, cadence. On the right hand side is my power, heart rate, cadence. If I get time, I'll put a little one of my faces on top of my power so you can, that's easier to look at. But as we can see here, Matt's on the left, he's doing about 440 watts, the little tow rag, and I'm doing about 300 sat on his wheel. So this event is very local to us. It's a charity event. There was about, I think there were sort of 15 teams in it, and some good riders as well, as I was not in that bracket. So here we go, nice short-term pull-off. I don't have a clock on the screen, so let's keep a clock on how long we've been going on this video, which is 1 minute and 7. We're anticipating this ride's going to take us about 25 minutes-ish, so that's how we're pacing it. We said we were going to do short turns. So 2-up time trialing, how does it differ to normal individual time trialing? Well, normal individual time trialing is one long constant effort, whereas 2-up is like you're going above your threshold on the front and then below it when you're recovering. So it's a very, very different ride, coupled with the fact there's going to be a lot of hills on this course. You've got that to think about as well. I mentioned it in my video from yesterday. I actually enjoy this sort of ride more than I do like a flat, fast dual carriageway, for example. The fast dual carriageways might be good for a few Strava kudos in terms of like average speed, but in terms of the actual ride, what it's asking of you as a rider, and you know, and a sort of pacing and tactics and all that sort of thing is far better on this sort of course. It's definitely the sort of thing I want to do in future. So here I am on the front, giving it big licks, 420 odd watts. Maybe I was a little bit too strong. I think I've wafted Matt through because he's now doing 450 odd, or maybe just, yeah, so he's coming through now. So we were going for pulling off rather than pulling through. I sort of thought, if we're pulling through, the person on the front's still going hard, you're going to have to lift it so much more to get past them before they know that you're coming. Whereas if you're on the front, you can just flick the elbow, you can pull over and then ease off. You've got a little bit of recovery. That person's then getting, you know, building that, well, in theory, keeping their speed the same. You've got a few seconds recovery before you have to put a little dig in to get back on the wheel. That's how I thought was the best way to do it. Matt and I haven't done this before, so we're just basically, you know, just winging it. But it seemed to work okay. We're ticking along at sort of 41 k's an hour now. It's about 24, 25 miles an hour. Shall I touch on bikes? So you'll notice we're on road bikes. Now this isn't a road bike only event. However, we didn't see anybody else on TT bikes. Upon reflection, it might have been a little bit quicker in parts on a TT bike, like this part, for example, but not for the whole course. With the climbing involved, the gearing on my bike, especially and Matt's, would make the climbing tough. And then descending, I don't think we'd be as fast on a TT bike as we are on road bikes, because you corner that a bit more confidently on a road bike. I feel more at home on a road bike, you know, descending on twisty bends and stuff. And it really, really does make a difference when you're on a TT bike, excuse me, and you dab the brakes, that scrubs off so much speed and for so long. So yeah. So there we go, Matt's looking behind and waving me through again. So at this point, I'm feeling okay. So let's talk about like numbers and capability of riders. Matt and I have had very similar results this year in the TT scene, which makes us a good pairing. Matt's a fair bit lighter than me, so I'm not using that as an excuse. It's just a factor we have to plan in with the strategy. So that means that on the hills, he'll be riding more within himself than I would be doing. So perhaps he's going a little bit hard on the flats when he's taking his turns. You know, that's something we've thought about and talked about beforehand. So I think threshold-wise, our road bike threshold is both sort of 360-ish. I don't really know. Matt keeps his data quite close to his chest, so we're very, very lucky to have his data on screen at the minute. He wouldn't give me access to his training peaks, although I do ask a few times. So raw power, we're pretty similar, which means that we know that if we're going hard on the front, you're not putting somebody behind you in the red too much and vice versa. But then when we come to the climbs, it's a different game. So here we're going left here, so I've swung out onto the road, coming left as fast as we can, just trying to stay on our side of the road because you don't know what's coming. It's not a closed road. I don't want to come head on into a tractor or anything. Little kick out the corner. I think then the road starts winding up a little bit, so I wave Matt through because, yes, there we go. Because we're still moving along quite a lot here. We're still doing 38 k's an hour, but I know this is where the hill starts, so I want that little bit of recovery behind him before that hill starts, knowing that I won't drop him up the hill. He will definitely be, within himself, keeping me. So we hit a lot of gradient here, about 2%, and this hill basically goes on for a few minutes. It undulates up and down, but it just gradually go up and up. We're still moving quite well here. You can see I'm down to 250 watts. It's quite like zone 2 really, but so it gets the heart rate down. Matt and I's max heart rate is also very similar. It's about 175 to 180-ish, I think. The max heart rate I hit on this ride was 174, 175, and that was the highest that it's been for a while, and similar for Matt. So it's quite a good gauge, really. And also put cadence on there. Interesting that I'm sitting at a higher cadence than Matt at the minute. I generally grind a bit more than he does, so that's interesting. So still only 1%, still not really worth worrying about too much. I am sitting as close to his wheel as I can because that's where you get the most draft. I know Matt as a rider, I've ridden with him a lot. I know that he doesn't dab the brakes or swerve around. He's a very, very reliable rider, so I'm confident riding on his wheel when I can. So I touched on earlier, we're on road bikes, not TT bikes. So Matt's riding a Planet X E130, whatever the aero road bike is for Planet X. It's his crit bike, his like crit road racing bike. He bought it, I remember quite, as he mentions quite frequently. I think he didn't pay very much for it. It was just over £1,000, which was a lot of money, I know, but it came with Red ETAP, and I think he got the bike for less than ETAP retail for on its own, which was quite a good one. So I've come alongside him here, not deliberately, just because I was carrying a little bit of pace, and I thought I don't want to dab the brakes because I know I'm going into a hill, so I'm going to carry that pace and then sit on the hill. And I've just said to Matt now, I can hear myself in my ear, I'm going to sit at between 410 to 420 and then proceed to ride about 450 watts. I needed to ride between 410 and 420, but this was just a little steeper bit, so I knew that I could press on a little bit. But just look at the power difference here. So I'm weighing at the minute about 91, 92 kilos, and Matt's about 78. So as we can see, I'm doing like 400 watts and he's doing about 350. It's just a very different ride, isn't it? It's just power to weight, it's just gravity. I keep trying to get through a bike spec and we keep getting distracted. So Matt's, we're running pretty much similar spec. Both got Zip 404 wheels, both got Red ETAP group set, standard size crank, so 5339, and probably paired with an 1128 cassette. So we're pretty much on the same components. Wow, I'm out of the saddle, I can hear myself grunting, doing nearly 500 watts, and Matt's still doing 450 watts, so we're still having to work hard, but just not quite as hard as I'm having to. I could only, for some reason in first gear, my mech was touching the spokes, and so I just stayed in second, so I got out the saddle a bit earlier than I would have liked to. Supporters on the side of the road, thank you very much for the support for coming out. My heart rate here, 171, yes, working pretty hard, just keeping pushing. Matt said that basically he was just going to ride, next to me or within, near me. I think sometimes sitting on somebody's wheels will help on a hill, even though it's no draft benefit whatsoever. It is still a mental benefit. So I just said that I'd shout to him if I was getting dropped. There's Hannah Wibley and Emma. Well done, girls. Great riding. Hannah Wibley is Adam Kenway's other half, and Adam, where did he come today? He rode with somebody else, so I don't think he was going full gas, but we did beat him with us today, but we did not beat two other pairs, so we actually finished third. Spoiler alert, we finished third behind, I think one team was a team from PB Performance, and another team, I can't remember who they rode for, but yeah, some good riders. And they actually, in fact, the PB Performance team actually passed us on this route, which is crazy, given that they started 2 minutes behind us. So here we go. So I've gone over the hill. We're back up to like 30 k's an hour now. This is where I need to be recovering as much as I can because I know it goes up again. I've just said to Matt, keep pressing, and he said something, I didn't know what it was. So he said, come round. So I've come round him. You don't know how the other person feels. So I'd said, keep pressing, as in like, I'm okay. And he's obviously taken that as, you're saying keep pressing. Well, come on then, you come and take a turn. She's absolutely fine. If I'm feeling good and he isn't, I should be on the front. So here we go. There's another team that are passing. I don't know what number they are. I think they've got the numbers, or maybe they're not even in the race, who knows, but either way we'll take it as a catch. So here we go, I'm pressing on here again just north of 400 watts. Matt's sitting at 320ish, which is probably like tempo, so we should be getting a nice bit of recovery there. As you can see, it's undulating 2%, 3%. It's up and down, up and down. I quite like that sort of climb because I find that I can keep that constant power on, and then on the flat bits I gain quite a bit of pace and carry that into the next climb. Come around this corner, this is quite steep. This is near the part where I stopped and showed you guys the course in yesterday's video when I got out of the car. So I can just see now, this is getting steeper and steeper. I'm going to settle into my tempo, knowing Matt will probably come round me, and I've just got to keep tapping away, haven't I? There we go. So I mean, if I hadn't have been there, Matt would have ridden off up there. I've seen him many a time gap me big time on climbs. So he's obviously listening out for where I am. I'm breathing quite heavily so he can sense where I am. There you go, just looks behind him, just sees that he's opened a gap, so he's not pressing on too much. There we go, I'm just kicking on over the top, just trying to get on his wheel because I know that if that gap opens up and the speed goes up, I'm gone. So I shout there, I'm on, and he knows then that I'm here. He's then gone into the big ring and then kicking on a little bit. Now I'm feeling it there, so I didn't pull through straight away to take a turn. He's had a few seconds of where he sat up a little bit, so you can take a turn, lad. Cheers. So still tapping away, decent tempo. My heart rate is probably 2 or 3 beats off, or probably on threshold. There we go, good support. Thanks very much for coming out. What a view this is behind Matt Hay. Nutrition, you'll notice that, or you might not have noticed, neither of us have got bottles on our bikes. When I got to the event, I'd taken my bottle cage off long before for the crit last weekend. I don't need to carry a drink for like a half hour, 40 minute or an hour race. Matt had a bottle cage on his bike, and I was like, are you even taking it seriously, Matt? Come on. So we just crested the, so there's no nutrition basically. We just had a gel or something before we start. You saw then we just crested the hill and I came round. So Matt's put a little bit more work in than me up the hill because obviously I'm sat on his wheel, still getting a little bit of draft. Then over the top, I just kick on. Left turn here, the marshals signalling to us that the road's clear, so we just keep rolling. Thank you very much, marshals. Holes left. I think I open a little bit of a gap up here just through carrying a bit more speed around the corner than Matt, but I know that so you see here he's putting a big dig in at sort of 400 watts. I just know that if I just settle into a little tempo, the hill come in, he will close the gap down on the hill, not a problem. It's not like I put a massive gap into me, it's probably just a few bike lengths. There we go, so he just shouted to me saying he's back on. Wow, Team 10, look at that, those guys absolutely flying past us. That's the difference between an elite rider and, I don't know, a reasonable club rider. It is just next level. When you see these guys in the flesh, it's crazy, the pace difference. So see here, I'm doing 350 watts, and I'm not even holding the wheel. I can't even like keep them at the same distance. So they must have been putting out some decent watts and watts per kilo, and they started 2 minutes behind us. So that's a big gap. Matt obviously red rag to a bull. Here we go. You're not passing us. What's he doing now? 400 watts trying to come around me, but he knows that he can't just flog himself because I will be gone. But still doing quite a lot of power here sitting on his wheel because there's 5% grade, so it's not like the draft is big. In fact, actually, interestingly, I'm doing the same power as him. I've just shouted then. He's up a touch, Matt, and I don't think he fully heard me, but he's looked behind me. Yeah, he's looking behind me because we sort of can't really hear each other. When I'm doing 170 beats per minute, it's hard to talk too much. So I just said ease a touch, so he's just eased a touch and come back, because even at 6%, we're still doing, what, 25 Ks now. There is still a draft benefit, so he's better. I'm better. Him waiting for me, giving me a little bit of a draft. And then hopefully I'll be a bit fresher to do a bit more of a turn later on. It's not like he's just riding for me. So there we go, back on the wheel. I shout and say, yep, I'm on. And he's then again had a few seconds where he's eased up. He's probably not feeling very recovered. His heart rate's still 171 beats a minute, and he didn't actually ease off that much. But just that few seconds just enables him to do another little turn. In terms of clothing and kit, we've not taken it too seriously. Neither of us have shaved our legs, which is why we dropped 2 minutes to the leaders. Matt's got some nice aero socks on. We're still awaiting the aero club socks from Socks Watts. We haven't actually ordered them yet, so not waiting for them. Hopefully they'll be here soon. Then we've just got club skin suits on. Nothing fancy about the technology. They're just sort of lycra skin suits. But the hill climbs on this sort of thing, it's good to represent the club, and it's good to wear the club kit, and it's good enough. I like the chamois in them, so it's good. Here we go. Matt flies past this team. This guy actually thinks that this is his teammate coming past him, so he's like, yes, he's getting on it to come around. And then Matt tells him, oh, I'm not in your teammate, and then he realises it peels off. I said, oh, Matt, you should have got him to do a turn first. So good riding if you're watching this video. You see here, I'm just catching Matt up, just trying to not come past him. I can see there's another hill here, so I'm just thinking I don't want to come around and take a turn because I'll be straight out the back. But still doing decent power. But my heart rate's come down a little bit, so I think I'm feeling a little bit better. In terms of strategy, pretty much stuck to what we said we were going to do. Matt's taken a few like longer pulls, but the thing is he's a stronger rider than I am, particularly on the hills. So that's probably the fastest way for us to get around this course. Your time is taken at the second rider. So if he drops me, then you know, that's just a poor result for the team. What's he doing now? About 3. Yeah, see, I'm having to kick on hard to get on, you know, stay on his wheel. It's not like it's an easy ride back here. When you get faster, it is easier behind. So whereas when you're going slower, it's harder. So if we manage to get up to an hour, get up to 40 k's an hour, you can see my power's dropping right down to like the, you know, mid 200s, low 300s. Whereas when I was going slower, I was having to put out pretty much watt for watt, the same as what he was doing. He's pressing on again here to 400 odd watts. Says he's he's feeling good. At 18, 19 miles an hour is not a huge amount of benefit to be behind there, but mentally it's good to, you know, good to be on somebody's wheel. There we go, I'll come through for a turn now. So I'm feeling okay, and I know there's a descent coming here, so I think, right, as we said in our video yesterday, I seem to descend a bit faster than Matt. Matt has like real life responsibilities of kids and stuff, so I think he thinks about his life in a bit more detail than I do. So we'd agree that I just come to the front 4 descents. So I try and just descend as fast as I can, really, knowing that it is just a club TT. I'm not at like the time trial world championships. I don't want to risk running over the side of the road and hitting a car or anything, but we do want to descend as fast as we can because it is a race, isn't it? I'm then also bearing in mind that some of the downhill isn't like fully freewheel downhill. It's, you know, like you still need to be on the pedals. So I've got to try and do that where I can and not go too hard. So you see here, we're doing 43 k's an hour, but I'm only sat at 300 odd watts. So I'm feeling it, to be honest. So I don't want to go too deep because I don't know the course very well. If there's another hill around the corner, I need to have that little bit of recovery so that I've got a little bit of gas to kick on a little bit more up the hill. It's going okay. Matt's come through again here, so we're flying along here, 44 k's an hour. This is quick. Again, minus 1%. So this is fast down here, 47 k's an hour. And this is, see, look at my power now, 120 watts. I'm basically barely pedaling, whereas Matt's still doing 260 watts. So Matt's recovering a little bit, 51 k's an hour. There's not really any benefit to pedaling hard at this sort of speed, because what you get for the power in is so small. But it is only a 10-mile TT, so we just need to keep on the gas. So here it just ramps up a little bit or flattens off, but I'm still only having to do about 200 watts. This is ridiculous, isn't it? Like, this is hardly any power versus what he's having to put out. Well, that's just the benefit of going this fast. But this is where we should communicate, and Matt should have perhaps done shorter turns here and pulled off if he was riding with somebody who was fresher. Or a better rider, but this was the right thing for me at this time because so he looks around, gives it a whirl after yet and comes through. So I said, you know, I'm feeling good at this point. I've had a good 30 seconds or so of solid recovery. My heart rate's down to 157. I can now put in a solid turn. When I pull through, I try not to say I'm doing 350, 360 there. I'm waiting for Matt to get on my wheel and then pressing on rather than pulling through a lot faster than him, because then he's got to put another effort on to get on my wheel. I'm not trying to drop him. I'm trying to get him on my wheel and then ease the power in. That's better for me, like physiologically, in order to manage my effort, and it's also better for him, so he's not doing that extra dig to get on my wheel that isn't of any benefit to us. Here we go, nice descent, 67 k's an hour. This is flying down here. But as I said, I feel pretty confident on the bike. It's canyon aeroed, the geometry's great. I love being on the drops and descending on it. It feels pretty good. I've got some sticky Schwalbe Pro 1 tyres, and yeah, it seems to be good. So I'm absolutely in my comfort zone here, just swerving around. I also always have the map on my Wahoo Roam screen, because I can see when there's any sharp bends coming up. I don't fully rely on that because, of course, you need to look on the road and look at the apexes and stuff. But it is a good indication of, oh, do I need to be on the brakes or do I not? Little ramp up, of course, when you're descending, you're recovering. So I can be able to lift it to 450 odd watts just to get that speed, you know, keep that speed up for as long as possible. 57, 58 k's an hour, because we haven't got a huge amount of time to go. What are we now? About 18 minutes in, I'm thinking, right, if we're on for a 25, 26 minute ride, there's only 5 or 6 minutes left to go. So we've got to squeeze every little bit out that we can. It's up to 370 odd watts now. 50 k's an hour, that is fast. On the descending thing, I mean, whether it's related or not, but I used to have a track car, do like track days, that sort of stuff, and had some tuition in the past as well. And that sort of thing does help you think through carrying speed through corners, particularly, oh, this driver just pulled out, thanks for that. I don't think I actually had to ease up, so I freewheeled a little bit there. I didn't have to touch the brakes though, and then got straight back on the pedals. Yeah, so that makes it, particularly driving like cars that have got little engines, so small power, really makes you value carrying momentum through the corners and not touching the brakes and that sort of thing. It's basically the same thing on a bike, isn't it? Apart from instead of hitting a rumble strip, you hit a wall. So a bit more of a risk to play at. So there we go. So Matt's just come through there, going on to another little descent. I was touching the pedals, at points during that descent, so it's not like I'm super fresh, but my heart rate is about 155, which is okay. That's about threshold for me, so it's giving me a little bit of chance to get some recovery. Matt again is not on the red line at all, like he's pushing on, but again we're doing 50 k's an hour. I think if we were to revisit this course, we might push harder in the first half, knowing that the second half is easier. But again, at this point, if we'd have blown up, you could still lose a lot of time, because instead of doing 45 k's an hour, we're doing 40. So I think we paced it okay. You see Matt there getting on the hoods, just trying to get as aero as he can. He's really dropping down, sinking his head down. Being time trialers this year, we've sort of got to grips with that sort of thing. He's just shouted to me, "You all right?" I said, "Yep, fine." My heart rate, that's not legit. I don't know why it went down to 114. Obviously, that is not the legit heart rate. It does come back up in a few minutes. But I'm having a good recovery here. This is good. I'm hardly touching the pedals, doing about 100 watts. He then pulls over. Nice short term. What was that, 30, 40 seconds? Perfect. Again, I'm just easing into it. Wait until he's shouting something or I can hear him on my wheel before then pushing on. 60 k's an hour though, there's not a huge amount of benefit to pedaling. I'm doing 300 watts, probably at 97 cadence. That's pretty fast cadence. But look at Matt, 180 watts, able to sit on my wheel. I'm doing 360. I mean, he's doing half the power that I am on the front, because that's the draft benefit, isn't it? But he's put that in the other way around a few minutes ago, so we'll call it quits. But that's just the benefit of being in a two-up and just measuring that effort so that you can go as fast as you can while still protecting your ride as much as you can. I mean, I'm an amateur at this, and so is Matt. So if you've got any sort of team time trial tips, please do let us know down below. We're looking to do some more TTT stuff. I know this isn't a team; it's only a two-up, but the theory is the same, isn't it? Returns and pulling off and that, and definitely on TT bikes as well. So we definitely need to get some advice. But I think the best thing for us to do is just to do more, isn't it? And just to trial and error it and just to get some experience. Still doing about 350 watts here, about 50 k's an hour. It's probably a sweet spot. It's about a sweet spot for me power wise. So that is a good sort of level of effort to make. I think have I swung over here or not? I don't know why. Yeah, I've swung over there for Matt to come through. I'm wondering why I was in the middle of the road. It's gone down again here. Not sure why I let Matt through there. Probably was just struggling a little bit. But with short turns is the fastest way to do this, especially on such a short effort. Another little rise here. So I said something to Matt like, press on or something. Like I was feeling okay, so don't go mad. But but do feel like you could press on. I think if he was to push on here and open a gap, I could just shout hold, and he could just drop 10 watts or 20 watts or something, rather than him thinking, oh, I'm going to have to go easier so Daniel can stay on my wheel. Not that at all. Just ride as hard as you want to see. He's doing 400 watts. I don't think he's holding anything back. 450. Matt, 3% grade. Listen to the brief. So just opening a little gap there, isn't he? Just a little bit. But I'm pushing on, doing 400 watts. I'm pressing on as hard as I can. I know that there's only a handful of minutes left to go. And after this climb, there isn't really much more climbing. I think there's actually a decent descent. So I'm just trying to mash some gears at the minute. And just push on as hard as I can. So yeah, 450 watts. It's not like I've blown up. It's not like I'm struggling. I just can't do the power to weight that Matt's doing. So yeah, he's doing 400 watts and I'm not closing the gap at 450. I can't do much more than that power-wise. So it's just a case of I'll get to the top when I get to the top. You see here he's eased right off to sort of 250, just to let me catch up with him. So this is a point there where he would have been quicker without me, but on the flats, obviously working together, we would have been. Now I'm struggling here to get the big ring. This is what this faffing around is. Oh, I'm back on now, so I must have lost a couple of seconds there, but got a bit of momentum. Am I coming through or not? Am I just half-wheeling him? I think I was half-wheeling him. I couldn't get in the big ring, which was frustration. Just shouted here, one last push, because I know here that there's just a little bit of flat and then there's a decent downhill. So we need to just get down here and then just basically just send it and just fully commit to it. Where's the one last hill? I couldn't work out to get the gradient graph on the screen. I do apologise, but another day. 2%. This must be the last climb then. So this is a case of just empty the tank. In the last sort of half a mile or so, regardless of how hard you've gone, it's going to be hard. You're going to feel like you're absolutely flat out. So you might as well give it the beans a mile or so out, knowing that, well, you're not going to sit up with half a mile to go, are you? It's just going to be painful. So that was the plan pretty much. Only at 2%, so 18 miles an hour. I'm still doing quite a lot of power there. I think it was a bit of a crosswind rather than a headwind, so the benefit wasn't as much sat behind Matt. But these are good numbers for us both. I'm happy with these. Why am I doing more power? I see you here. He's on the front, and I'm doing more power than him behind him on his wheel, and we're doing 26 k's an hour. It's just the benefit of being that bit lighter. But I will get back there, and some I will be back in good shape. And next year we said we're going to come back and we're going to win this. All right. Here we go. Last little bit of the climb. Just going over the top. I think I come round here because, as we said earlier, over the top of hills, I was coming around just to take the descent or get us back up to speed, that little bit of momentum. Oh, not a bit awkward. Do I come around? No. Sorry, Matt. Back up to 38 k's an hour. You see here, he's not pushing on that hard. Whether he was hard from feeling up from that climb or not, or whether he was thinking that he'd open a gap to me or not, I don't know. But he's doing sort of mid 300 watts, so it's decent. But I think he probably could have done with me coming around and taking a turn. But my heart rate's pretty much near its max, and I was feeling it here. One of the last little kicks here, so 420 odd watts. Yes, that's good. Some people in the road, get out the way. And this is it. This is empty the tank time. This last little rise, we can only see the next few hundred meters up the road at a time. He's looked around there. I think he's looking for me to come around. I know that these little kicks over these little hills, he's going to be going up them faster than me. So I always don't want to get in his way. Just want to stay behind him and stay on his wheel, and Matt can go as hard as he likes. What am I doing now? 3:30. I'm pretty much in the same power as him. There we go, yeah. So come around again now. I think I shouted something like, I can take a turn. Whether he thought that I was struggling or not, I don't know. Given the terrain, yeah, I was struggling. But we just had a little bit of conversation there, just basically saying, I said something like, not far to go, let's just push on and go. And that's motivating him to hear, but also motivating to me. I'm also trying to say to him there that, I'm all right, let's hit it, rather than him having to think, oh, I need to have the brakes on. Just let him know that we're going to get the beans. So I know that's a downhill finish now. So although it's downhill and there's not much value in putting power out, when you're half a mile from the finish of a time trial, you've got to give it everything. So I'm doing 400 watts at 50 k's an hour downhill just because we're near the finish, and I know that I just need to absolutely empty myself. And if anything, if I can do that and then blow up, Matt comes around, that's fine. I'm not going to get dropped doing 66 k's an hour. I couldn't physically touch the pedals at this speed, by the way. I was spinning out, 53.11. Just trying, trying not to end up in a ditch, but whilst descending as fast as you can and not touching the brakes. The brakes is the worst thing you can do for efficiency, by the way. Do not touch the brakes if you can help it, because that's the way you slow down the most. But you've got to keep safe. I'd only do this because I've driven the course beforehand. I know the conditions are good. I know my bike very well. I'm taking wide entrances, that sort of thing. Here we go. Matt pulls around. There's no custom flag there. I thought that was the finish, but it's not. It's this one. Of course he came around for the glory, didn't he? There we go. Good ride. First 2-up TT with Matt done and dusted. We didn't really know how we'd done. We'd ridden 26.5 minutes. We thought we were going to be around there. We didn't really have anything to measure that against, other than looking at Strava segments from what other people have done. A few people on the left there. Matt goes straight down. I thought I'd pull over and tell some people how amazing I am. Not the case, just trying to find out how people have done and what sort of times they've ridden, that sort of thing. But yeah, real good ride out. There's a real mix of abilities there today. So there were people who would, club riders who perhaps don't do a lot of time trialing, right up to the elite road race sort of crew. So Ilkeston, the club that put this ride on, were also doing a hill climb at 12:30, and I did not fancy doing that as well. It was like a double header, like the morning, the afternoon. So those lads, they're the ones that won it. I think it was Josh Housley and somebody else. But the ride for PB Performance, great riders. There's Adam, who's that? Luke from Vela Bavarian and Adam Kenway. And I told Adam Kenway that, I nearly caught you. Whatever. And then went and found Matt, and that was it. So yeah, hope you enjoyed that. That was my take of a 2-up time trial. It's good to replay like this and go through it in detail, because it's like thought-provoking for me about things we're going to do differently next time, i.e. not weigh as much for me. But yeah, real good fun. If there are any local hill climbs or time trials or anything like this local to you, just put your name down and do them. You'll get talking to people, you'll get advice. Just doing the event's good fun. You don't need to be in peak form or peak shape or whatever else. Just get out and do it. It is damn good fun. So yeah, there we go. That's it for today's video. Thank you very much for watching. If you haven't already, please do hit the subscribe button down below. There's still a couple of TTs have to come this year, so more on that later. But I'll see you tomorrow at 4 PM for a triathlon training day.